The UEFA Champions League, previously known as the European Cup, abbreviated as UCL, or sometimes UEFA Centiliters, is an annual club associations football competition organized by the Union of European Football Associations UEFA and contested by top division European clubs, deciding the competition winners through a round-robin group stage 2, qualified for a double-legged knockout format, and a single-leg final. It is the most watched club competition in the world and the third most watched football competition overall, behind only the UEFA European Championship and the FIFA World Cup. It is one of the most prestigious football tournaments in the world and the most prestigious club competition in European football, played by the National League champions and, for some nations, one or more runners-up of their national associations. Introduced in 1955 as the Coupe de Clubs Champions Européens, French for European Champion Clubs Cup, and commonly known as the European Cup, it was initially a straight knockout tournament open only to the champions of Europe's domestic leagues, with its winner reckoned as the European Club Champion. The competition took on its current name in 1992, adding a round-robin group stage in 1991 and allowing multiple entrants from certain countries since the 1997-98 season. It has since been expanded, and while most of Europe's national leagues can still only enter their champion, the strongest leagues now provide up to 4 teams. Clubs that finish next in line in their national league, having not qualified for the Champions League, are eligible for the second-tier UEFA Europa League competition, and since 2021, for the third-tier UEFA Europa Conference League. In its present format, the Champions League begins in late June with a preliminary round, 3 qualifying rounds and a playoff round, all played over 2 legs. The 6 surviving teams enter the group stage, joining 26 teams qualified in advance. The 32 teams are drawn into 8 groups of 4 teams and play each other in a double round-robin system. The 8 group winners and A runners-up proceed to the knockout phase that culminates with the final match in late May or early June. The winner of the Champions League automatically qualifies for the following year's Champions League, the UEFA Super Cup, and the FIFA Club World Cup. Spanish clubs have the highest number of victories, 19 wins, followed by England 15 wins and Italy 12 wins. England has the largest number of winning teams, with 6 clubs having won the title. The competition has been won by 23 clubs, 13 of which have won it more than once, and A successfully defended their title. Real Madrid is the most successful club in the tournament's history, having won it 14 times, and the only club to have won it 5 times in a row, the first 5 editions and also 5 of the last 10. Only one club has won all of their matches in a single tournament en route to the tournament victory, Bayern Munich in the 2019-20 season. Manchester City are the current European champions, having beaten Inter Milan 1-0 in the 2023 final for their first title. The first time the champions of 2 European leagues met was in what was nicknamed the 1895 World Championship, when English champions Sunderland beat Scottish champions Hearts 5-3. The first pan-European tournament was the Challenge Cup, a competition between clubs in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. 3 years later, in 1900, the champions of Belgium, Netherlands and Switzerland, which were the only existing leagues in continental Europe at the time, participated in the Coupe van der Straeten, thus being dubbed as the Club Championship of the continent by the local newspapers. The Uefa Cup, a competition modeled after the Challenge Cup, was created in 1927, an idea of Austrian Hugo Mile, and played between Central European clubs. In 1930, the Coupe des Nations French Nations Cup, the first attempt to create a cup for national champion clubs of Europe, was played and organized by Swiss club Servet. Held in Geneva, it brought together 10 champions from across the continent. The tournament was won by Újpest of Hungary. Latin European nations came together to form the Latin Cup in 1949. After receiving reports from his journalists over the highly successful South American Championship of Champions of 1948, Gabriel Hayna, editor of L'Equipe, began proposing the creation of a continent-wide tournament. In interviews, Jacques Ferrand, one of the founders of the European Champions Cup, together with Gabriel Hayna, said that the South American Championship of Champions was the inspiration for the European Champions Cup. 20 after Stan Cullis declared Wolverhampton Wanderers champions of the world following a successful run of friendlies in the 1950s, In particular, the 3-2 friendly victory against Budapest Honvéd Hainaut finally managed to convince UEFA to put into practice such a tournament. It was conceived in Paris in 1955 as the European Champion Clubs Cup. The UEFA Champions League begins with a double round-robin group stage of 32 teams, which since the 2009-10 season is preceded by two qualification streams for teams that did not receive direct entry to the tournament proper. The two streams are divided between teams qualified by virtue of being league champions, and those qualified by virtue of finishing second or third in their national championship. The number of teams that each association enters into the UEFA Champions League is based upon the UEFA coefficients of the member associations. These coefficients are generated by the results of clubs representing each association during the previous 5 Champions League, UEFA Cup/Europa League, and UEFA Europa Conference League seasons. The higher an association's coefficient, the more teams represent the association in the Champions League, and the fewer qualification rounds the association's teams must compete in. 4 of the remaining 6 qualifying places are granted to the winners of a 6-round qualifying tournament between the remaining 43 or 44 national champions, within which those champions from associations with higher coefficients receive byes to later rounds. The other 2 are granted to the winners of a 3-round qualifying tournament between 10 and 11 clubs from the associations ranked 5 to 6 through 15, which have qualified based upon finishing second or third in their respective national league. In addition to sporting criteria, any club must be licensed by its national association to participate in the Champions League. To obtain the license, the club must meet certain stadium, infrastructure and finance requirements. In 2005-06, Liverpool and Artemisia Bratislava became the first teams to reach the Champions League group stage after playing in all 3 qualifying rounds. Real Madrid and Barcelona hold the record for the most appearances in the group stage, having qualified 25 times, followed by FC Porto and Bayern Munich on 24. Between 1999 and 2008, no differentiation was made between champions and non-champions in qualification. The 16 top-ranked teams spread across the biggest domestic leagues qualified directly for the tournament group stage. Prior to this, 3 preliminary knockout qualifying rounds whittled down the remaining teams, with teams starting in different rounds. An exception to the usual European qualification system happened in 2005, after Liverpool won the Champions League the year before, but did not finish in a Champions League qualification place in the Premier League that season. UEFA gave special dispensation for Liverpool to enter the Champions League, giving England 5 qualifiers. 71 UEFA subsequently ruled that the defending champions qualified for the competition the following year regardless of their domestic league placing. However, for those leagues with 4 entrants in the Champions League, this meant that, if the Champions League winner fell outside of its domestic league's top 4, it would qualify at the expense of the 4th-placed team in the league. Until 2015-16, no association could have more than 4 entrants in the Champions League. In May 2012, Tottenham Hotspur finished 4th in the 2011-12 Premier League, 2 places ahead of Chelsea, but failed to qualify for the 2012-13 Champions League, after Chelsea won the 2012 final. Tottenham were demoted to the 2012-13 UEFA Europa League. In May 2013, it was decided that, starting from the 2015-16 season and continuing at least for the 3-year cycle until the 2017-18 season, the winners of the previous season's UEFA Europa League would qualify for the UEFA Champions League, entering at least the playoff round, and entering the group stage if the berth reserved for the Champions League title holders was not used. The previous limit of a maximum of 4 teams per association was increased to 5, meaning that a 4th-placed team from one of the top 3 ranked associations would only have to be moved to the Europa League if both the Champions League and Europa League winners came from that association and both finished outside the top 4 of their domestic league. In 2007, Michel Platini, the UEFA president, had proposed taking 1 place from the 3 leagues with 4 entrants and allocating it to that nation's cup winners. This proposal was rejected in a vote at a UEFA Strategy Council meeting. In the same meeting, however, it was agreed that the 3rd-placed team in the top 3 leagues would receive automatic qualification for the group stage, rather than entry into the 3rd qualifying round, while the 4th-placed team would enter the playoff round for non-champions, guaranteeing an opponent from one of the top 15 leagues in Europe. This was part of Platini's plan to increase the number of teams qualifying directly into the group stage, while simultaneously increasing the number of teams from lower-ranked nations in the group stage. In 2012, Arsene Wenger referred to qualifying for the Champions League by finishing in the top 4 places in the English Premier League as the fourth-place trophy. The phrase was coined after a pre-match conference when he was questioned about Arsenal's lack of a trophy after exiting the FA Cup. He said the first trophy is to finish in the top 4. At Arsenal's 2012 AGM, Wenger was also quoted as saying, "For me there are 5 trophies every season: Premier League, Champions League. The third is to qualify for the Champions League." Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like the video.